Yeah. MD, JPB, it's only right, baby.
Yeah, why you mad? I got a bad bro. Name hot in these streets, no Tabasco. But I'm so stuck, that's a fact, yo. And if you think I'm frontin', you can run it back, yo. Run it back.
You know that I run it. Everything you wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this. Damn, it's gonna be a long night.
Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of What Ifs, and I'm back here with another video. And before we get into it, I would like to show you some suggestions. I want to show you guys a new manga that I've gotten back into. It's called A Returner's Magic Should Be Special. It's a series about a main character that gets essentially put back in time after like years of grueling, just fighting with his friends through a harsh world. And when he comes back, he has a chance to change all of that. Of course, it's about magic. The art style is really good, and it's really similar to Solo Leveling, which is why I like it so much. By the way, obviously the main character is a smartass, as you can tell by this picture. He gives no F's whatsoever you do. Of course, he's not like a kudere. He won't care about feelings, but like most of the times he shows off how smart he is, even though he says he's not that smart. His power is to analyze magic at its root and essentially divert it or cancel it out. And I love that power. I wish he was stronger though, because they keep just mentioning how weak he is without his analyzing magic, which is true, but you know, there's no need to weaken him that much. But you know, it's a fun read. It's a good series. I recommend you go read it. And also go give some love to Headhunter's edits for the intro, obviously. And also go sub to Darking of What Ifs. Obviously, he made the coloring for the drawing that I'm showing you. Always appreciate it, man. And yeah, go sub to both of those people. Thank you. Let's get right into it. So, quick recap. Deku won the sports festival with him and Bakugo having a fight which ended in a satisfying way. Bakugo finally got to fight Deku and get the fight that he wanted, and he also apologized for his behavior, as did Deku. After his win, however, Deku was surprised by the fact that his mom now knew about his servants and that she was attacked by some criminals. After this happened, he put some of his minions around the neighborhood. He also took the time to send his minions where the criminals were given instructions, because they dared to attack his mom, so he was declaring war. And of course, after this, he gave his strongest minion to his mom so she could be protected. He kept the last one for himself. However, he had to make that one follow Ida, who was thinking something really stupid. Now we're gonna see how this all plays out. Deku had arrived at Gran Torino's place and opened the door to see an old man in a pile of blood. What the? Is he dead? Deku goes to touch him when the old man wakes up. Who are you, kid? Deku is very surprised. Gran Torino would then get up holding himself up with his cane, saying he accidentally spilled some ketchup while carrying some food. He then asks who Deku is. Deku then says, I'm Mizuki Midoriya from UA, but you can call me Deku. Gran Torino would then ask again since he didn't hear it, and it would be a conversation that Deku quickly didn't like, and he was getting infuriated with this old man. He would then go to leave as all of his senses just activate and pick up something. He then dodges to the right as Gran Torino lands on the wall, right next to him. Nice reflexes, kid. Deku then gets mad as he would try to grab him by the leg, but he would already have leapt away and already started ricocheting off the walls. Deku would then say, what's your deal? You gonna teach me or not? Gran Torino then says, I'll help you if you can lay a finger on me. Hearing this, Deku would appear in front of the old man just as he was jumping to another wall and grabbed him by both his arms. Is that good enough? Gran Torino would then say, not bad, kid, but he kicks Deku in the stomach with all his strength. You're still inexperienced. He then looks closer and sees that Deku received no damage at all. Deku then puts him on the ground and dusts himself off. I know I'm inexperienced, but I can definitely take a hit. Gran Torino says, what the hell is your quirk? Wait, I guess I should say, what are your quirks? Deku then says, well, one of them is that my body, as far as I can see, is completely impenetrable. I've never broken a bone in my entire life. Gran Torino is shocked. Now he doesn't know exactly what to teach this kid because he also realized that he has a lot of abilities. Kid, I know you don't want people to know your abilities, but if I need to help you, you're going to need to tell me all of your quirks. Deku then says, yeah, sure, I don't mind. Sit down, this might take a while. Gran Torino then sits down with Deku as he explains everything about his powers, and while they're doing this, Toshinori is currently talking with the police officer named Naomasa Tsukauchi. He's also a friend of All Might. Toshinori then says, so, have we gotten anything out of those two? Naomasa then says, no, they won't budge. And if anything, that Shigaraki seems pretty confident that he won't be stuck in his cell for long. But we did get something from the samples of that bizarre creature that kid beat. Toshinori then says, it's called a Nomu apparently. What about it? Well, this Nomu is a cluster of a bunch of different DNA, but it was once a living person. Aside from that, there's nothing left since the kid took out its brain and it practically dissolved on the ground. Toshinori then says, well, one thing that is certain is that there was no way it was born with that many quirks. This is definitely his work. We now cut back to Gran Torino's perspective. Why is this kid so powerful? Deku all this time has been rambling on about the possibilities of what he can do with his abilities, and this has left Gran Torino completely awestruck. Kid, honestly, I don't know what to teach you. How about you try using your telepathic related abilities? Deku then says, I'm more of a melee fighter, and it feels wrong to always be poking into someone's business. I used to do it a lot as a kid, but at some point my mom told me to stop, cause it isn't right. Gran Torino says, well, use it sometimes, right? Well, I do, but only when necessary. Hearing this, Gran Torino would then start to scratch his head until he finally thinks of something. I got it. Your matter manipulation? Let's work on that. Deku would then ask how he even knew about that, and Gran Torino says that he's guessing that's how his abilities work because it doesn't seem just like a stretching quirk when he used it to punch enemies. Also, he's not dumb, so he pieced it together. Deku then agrees and they go outside of the city and, create some moves after Deku puts on his new suit. One of the things that Deku learns is to adapt his fighting style and also controlling the environment while he's doing so. Like for example, any setting automatically becomes perfect for him to fight in. He can turn the ground into quicksand or slightly muddy to kind of mess with his opponents, and he can also extend his limbs or turn certain materials into weapons, like anything he finds on the floor. And it impresses Gran Torino how fast this kid adapts to new things. And since his quirk doesn't have a drawback, they trained until night. Then soon they went back to Gran Torino's to rest, and before they did that, they actually went to the store. On the way, Gran Torino asked why he chose that costume, and Deku says, I just feel comfortable with this. It's really flexible material, and I made it myself, so it's pretty much as tough as I am. Gran Torino then thinks, he even made his own costume. Why the hell hasn't Toshinori given this kid one for all? When they enter the store, everyone starts surrounding Deku and asking him for a bunch of things, as well as congratulating him, and he was getting a lot of attention, and so was Gran Torino. But pretty soon, Gran Torino told them to leave them alone because they're training, and it was pretty hard to get back to the house, but they did, and Deku even decided to cook a little something since he remembers a lot of recipes, and I mean, he's practically like a freaking genius, so his brain is like a sponge. He can just take in information easily. And while they're doing this, Stain was on a roll, attacking heroes. He was pretty much happy that Shigaraki was locked up since he couldn't stand him, and while he was enjoying himself, Ida couldn't wait to take his revenge. The next day, Gran Torino took Deku for patrolling, and Deku was nervous. I'm joking, he wasn't nervous. Why would he be nervous? Deku wasn't nervous at all. He was pretty happy actually, because he hasn't fought anyone strong since the Nomu. And since Gran Torino was going to take Deku to Hosu City, they had to take a train. And while he was on the train, he was receiving messages from the minion that he put on Ida. Master, I'm currently following him. He hasn't done anything dangerous yet. He's in Hosu City. Deku then says, good, I'm heading there as well. No matter what happens, he can't have a scratch on him before I get there. Minion then says, of course, Master. The train then takes a pretty long time to get to the city, and it's currently night. Deku is considering just teleporting them there, which is an ability he actually hasn't told Gran Torino about yet. But then all of a sudden, a hero flies into the train, breaking it as a Nomu gets inside, growling. Gran Torino would then say, "Kid, fix the train for me, will ya?" He then jumps at the Nomu, kicking it out as he starts fighting it. Deku would quickly reseal the train and fix it and says, "Don't worry, the train is fixed." He would then help up the hero that flew in, and the conductor comes into the car that was carrying them and says, "What happened here?" One of the passengers then says it's okay because the kid just fixed the train and the problem is being taken care of. Deku then says, "Sorry for the trouble, a hero should be arriving soon, but I have to leave." He then teleports out of there and appears in the city, and it is just full of mass destruction. Nomus everywhere and fires bursting randomly. He then sees Gran Torino fighting and jumps in to block an attack from the Nomu coming at him. Gran Torino then takes the chance to kick it in the face and it tries to grab his leg. Luckily he got away while also kicking the Nomu back as Deku uses his eye beams to blow its brains out. Then the Nomu falls to the ground and starts to dissolve. Endeavor then arrives. "Good job, kid. How long has it been?" Deku then turns around and sees him and gets mad as he just walks away because he has to find Ida. Gran Torino then laughs. "Wow, he really doesn't like you." He keeps laughing as Endeavor scoffs, and now we cut back to a different perspective. Stains. What the hell is going on? He is currently being beaten up by a strange creature and can't even lick its blood because his sword can't pierce its skin. So he decides to run away. As for Ida, he's currently knocked out because the minion didn't want him doing anything stupid. Now as Stain tries to leave, he gets punched to the ground by Deku, who just arrived at the scene. There he sees a knocked out Ida as well as an injured low-rank hero, the hero native. Deku then says, "I assumed you knocked him out, right?" The minion then says, "Of course, master. He was being quite bothersome." Deku then says, "Good. Protect the hero and my friend right now. I have some business to take care of." Deku then turns back and looks at Stain, who starts to get up while cracking a smile. "Who's your friend there?" Deku then instantly slams his foot on the ground and the ground starts to pop out spikes, and Stain easily dodges this, but then gets kicked right in the back into the ground, breaking his spine. And he barely dodged the spikes, and that was even harder, so you can imagine how fucked he is right now. Stain then says, "Who the hell are you to get in my way? You fake!" He then struggles to get back up by sheer force of will and aims a ton of bloodlust at Deku. Incredible. I wish I could fight him head on right now, but he's too dangerous. Deku would then rush at him at blinding speed and runs along the walls while using his matter manipulation to make stumps of earth come out aiming to smack him. And they're in an alleyway, so he's barely surviving. He's still getting crushed. Stain was barely dodging for his life. At this point, Ida starts to wake up to see what's happening. "Midoriya? How did he?" Then he notices the creature in front of him and backs away in fear. Native then says, "How do you know that guy?" Ida is a little too surprised by all of this, all of what's happening, to answer anything. And we then go back to Deku, who used his brain-related abilities to knock out Stain after exhausting him. "This guy is relentless," says Deku. He then picks him up and heads towards the minion and gives Stain over to him. "I know you have a lot of questions, but I just saved you, alright? That's all that matters." Ida then gets up wanting to ask him why he did what he did, but then all of a sudden Todoroki shows up, breathing heavily. Todoroki then says, "I got your message. Finally found you guys. What happened?" Deku then says, "Talk later." Then he tells his minion to carry both Stain and Native. Native then says, "Thank you, kid." Deku puts a thumbs up as they head out of the alleyway, with Todoroki being just as confused about the strange creature and why it follows Deku's orders. When they step out of the alleyway, they see things finally calming down and Nomus are being beaten. Out of nowhere, Deku then gets hit in the stomach by Gran Torino. "I know you can handle yourself, but at least try to be safe." He then sees a strange creature holding Stain and is very confused. A bunch of other heroes then start to gather around and seeing Stain was beaten and they're very interested. Then Deku feels another presence and says, "Everyone, watch out." Everyone notices the flying Nomu, and before they could react, Deku jams its brain with ease as it falls to the ground, twitching. Then the other heroes are amazed by this. It was clear that Deku did it. A newscopter also saw this and started to film everything, record everything, and saw that a new hero was apparently holding Stain. Of course, they didn't know this was Deku's minion, and they also saw Deku take out the Nomu pretty easily. And obviously, they're not exactly sure about the situation. Time skip to the next day. The kids aren't at the hospital because they're not hurt, but instead they're at the police station. And then the police chief of Hosu, Tsuragame, enters the room. It's the dog guy. The chief then says, by this time everyone already knows you defeated the hero killer Izuku Midoriya. Deku then says, something wrong with that? Chief says, honestly, no, but the reason why I came here is to ask you a few questions about that new hero. Deku says, that's not a hero, that's my minion. Deku then snaps his fingers as the minion appears by his side. Everyone in the room is just shocked as the police chief would ask what it is. Deku would explain since there's no reason to lie, and they would be completely baffled. Ida then says, you created artificial life from scraps. Deku then says, yeah, but it's not the only one I've made. They're once again shocked, and the chief would want to ask more, but Deku would refuse as it is his own business. The chief then says, well, people will start to speculate things about your creation. Things might get hectic. Stay safe. Deku then says, I'm guessing that means you'll keep my secret? The police officer nods and then tells them that when they're ready to go out, they can just leave. And Ida then says, I know what I did was stupid, but I would do it again. Todoroki then cuts in, you're lucky Deku was keeping you safe. Don't take your life so lightly. Ida then says, what, you're telling me you wouldn't risk your life to avenge a loved one? Deku would then smack him violently. For such a smart person, you really make the dumbest choices. You know that your brother wouldn't want this, right? You know if he actually died, you would have done the exact opposite of what he wanted. But at least he's alive. Isn't that good enough? Deku would then leave with Todoroki following behind him, and on the way back to meet their mentors, Todoroki asks, do you think that was the right way to approach that? Deku then says, honestly, no. But he's smart. He'll make the right choice. By the way, how is it going with your dad? Todoroki then says, he's actually trying to be better. It's suspicious. Deku would then laugh at this, and then he would say goodbye as we cut to the next day. Gran Torino would then say, you're pretty good, kid. Remember, don't limit yourself. The entire battlefield is at your command, and don't let your opponents get the better of you. Deku would then say, thank you for training me and helping with the police. I almost got in trouble. Gran Torino would then say, what was your name again? Deku then says, seriously? It's Deku. Don't forget it next time. He watches Deku run away as he says, that kid is definitely gonna become number one. The next day at school, all the students had heard of what Deku did and were very impressed. They also kept asking if he knew anything about the other guy that appeared on the news. Deku then says he's probably just a low-rank hero, I don't know. Bakugo then says, so, did you learn anything new? Deku then says, oh, definitely. Everyone would then start asking him what he learned, but he says that they'll see soon, not right now. Then later that day, All Might took the class and took them to Ground Gamma for a rescue training race to test how far they've gotten in their abilities. The first up for the race are Deku, Ida, Mina, Jiro, and Sero. And after hearing this, the students start to bet on who will win. Momo then says, honestly speaking, Deku was the fastest in our class, but I don't think he's used to this type of environment. Jiro then says, I say Deku will get first place. Sue then says, I'm not surprised you said that. Jiro would then blush as we go back to the race. Ida's costume wasn't damaged in this fight, in this timeline, therefore he isn't using like his school uniform for the race. He's using his normal hero suit. Ida then says, Midoriya, this might sound arrogant, but I plan to beat you. He said this while pointing at him, and everyone who was right by their side was surprised, while those who were seeing them through the monitor were just confused. Deku then approaches him very slowly, which gives off a bad feeling, and when he's finally staring at him in the face, he says, Phew, I knew you didn't hate me. Glad to see you're back, but I'm not letting you win, Ida then says, I wouldn't have it any other way. Of course, in the end, Deku won easily, but there's no denying that it was an awesome race because everyone was trying to catch up to Deku, and they all got motivated, especially Bakugo. Damn it. while I was screwing around and getting forced to get a new haircut, he got even better. I need to beat him next time I get the chance. Oh, come on. I wanted to fight him, not fight with him. Bakugo would then look at Deku, who is just mad about this just as much as he is, and they're just moping when all of a sudden All Might lands in front of them. Yes, this is the students versus teachers arc. All Might then says, I saw you both at the sports festival, so I figured there was no reason to put on weights. Deku then says, oh, then we're fighting you at 100%? All Might then says, yeah, why? Deku then says, cause I've been waiting for this day. I'm gonna end it off there. Thank you so much for getting me to 2K. We finally made it to 2K. Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna start working on the special already, so good for you. Bad for me. I am so fucking tired. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with anybody else who might like what is. I will see you guys in the next video, and don't forget to check out that manhwa. I promise, it's pretty fun. Yeah, also don't forget to sub to Darking of What Is and Headhunter's Edits. Obviously he made the intro. Don't thank me, go thank him, alright? Your thanks are wasted on me. I literally had nothing to do with it. I'm just saying the truth over here. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.